Well, good morning. It's good to be with you here on a Thursday breakfast with Jesus. Hope you are having a great day so far whenever you are having breakfast. I know a lot of folks watch throughout the day whenever they get a chance to, and I appreciate that. So it's good to be with you. Hope all things are going well. We've got a beautiful, beautiful stretch of weather here to enjoy. That's for sure. My goodness. Looking forward to that, and I hope you are as well. Good morning and shalom to you, Linda, and Fred, and Susan, and Donna. You guys are just starting to jump in here as we get underway. So we are going to look at Matthew's. Um, I don't want to say version because it almost sounds like he made up something different, but his account of the disciples being sent by Jesus across the Sea of Galilee. And we looked at yesterday at Mark's account. And if you missed that, you probably should go back and watch it. Kind of lays the foundation for what I want to talk with you about today. This incident in the life of the disciples um, was really, I think, meant by Jesus to kind of reveal to them where they were at in their own development. And, we talk about sometimes how we feel like God tests us. You know, we go through these difficulties, these trials and problems. And, um, sometimes we feel like, well, God, you're testing me. And we approach it from the standpoint of, am I going to pass or fail this test? Am I, going to do well or not? Um, as if that was the goal. Is the goal to determine your grade or, pass fail sort of thing? And that's not the case at all. Whenever God allows us to experience some difficulty in life, first of all, we have to recognize that He is not the one who is orchestrating everything down to this, nth degree. We are either victims of other people's poor choices or of our own poor choices. Okay. There's really no other option. We have an enemy out there who takes advantage of foolishness and bad choices, whether it's our own or someone else's, and leverages that to create all kinds of havoc and problems for us. Does God know about that? Of course he does. Does he care about it? Absolutely. Is he the one that sits back and goes, okay, I think it's time to test so and so? No, he just knows in advance how our choices and decisions are going to lead us into certain kinds of problems. Now, there is a third aspect to this, and that has to do with our assignment. In this case, Jesus had an assignment for them, which was to go across the Sea of Galilee. While he sent the crowds away, went to pray for a while, he figured, let me send these guys ahead, and I'll see how I get there on my own, right? Sometimes I wonder if he even knew how he was going to, rejoin the disciples once they were over there. But we'll leave that for now. So this is what happens. This is everything that we talked about yesterday in Mark's account of this incident. So they're out there rowing and rowing. They can't make any headway because of the wind that has come up in opposition. And basically, right, we have to recognize that when we are aware of an assignment that we've been given by God, and whether that's our ultimate destiny or just some part of that, where, okay, I know I'm supposed to do this. This is what God is showing me that I'm supposed to do. Well, there's going to be pushback in most cases because we have an enemy that does not want us to fulfill our purpose for being here. All right. Because our purpose is going to be involved with helping people get free of the nonsense of the enemy in some way. All right. I mean, just that's just the way it is. The enemy hates us, right? Jesus called him a thief who comes to steal, kill, and destroy. That's all he's up to in so many people's lives, and we've been affected by that as well. And we may still be really having difficulties with that. But our role here on earth, our assignment in some way is going to be helping people get free so they can become all that they're created to be. All right. That's what God wants. And he's chosen to work through us for that purpose. So we have an assignment. We're called to do something, and we have problems and difficulties and opposition and pushback and all kinds of stuff that comes against us because the enemy doesn't want us to do that. So how do we handle that? What do we do, right? Well, this is what was, you know, the situation in which the disciples were faced with. And as I mentioned yesterday, they had already seen how to handle this kind of situation because the almost exact situation happened, weeks or months earlier when they tried to cross the Sea of Galilee with Jesus. And the storm was so great, it almost took them all out. Jesus stood up and said, "Stop." He spoke to the storm, spoke to the wind and the waves, and everything was fine. So they knew that was possible, but in their circumstances of fear, because of the everything that was so difficult, they were discouraged, they were tired. Circumstances simply overwhelmed them, and we know what that feels like. So when Jesus shows up walking on the water, they freak out, right? Oh my gosh, it's a ghost. And he tries to calm their fear, say, no, 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 it's me, it really is me. Don't be afraid, right? And again, go back and watch yesterday if you missed that, because I really unpacked what that means for you and I on a personal level. So in Matthew's account, however, there's an added wrinkle that Mark doesn't include, as I mentioned yesterday, probably because Mark was recording Peter's version of things, Peter's account of Jesus' life. And I'm sure Peter was none too ready to or happy to share this particular incident from his life, because it doesn't really put him in a flattering light, right? So after Jesus, we pick this up in Matthew 14, where Jesus again just says, "It's me, don't be afraid." Verse 28, Peter answered him and said, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." That's pretty cool. And Jesus said, "Come." And Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came toward Jesus. But seeing the wind, he became afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, saying, "Lord, save me." And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and took hold of him and said to him, "Oh, you of little faith, why did you doubt?" When they got into the boat, the wind stopped. All right. So here we've got this difficult situation that they're all in. Peter also experiencing this. But when Jesus reveals himself to them, right? Oh, okay. So, Jesus, if it's you, command me to come to you. Well, whoa, what in the world? Why would you even do that? I mean, think about it. I mean, we got to give him some huge credit here for, coming up with that bold idea that, oh, okay, if it's you, command me to come to you on the water, right? So, this is what happens. Now, many of us know what it's like to have this idea, this vision, right? This goal that we're trying to accomplish. And when stuff happens, that pushes back against that, we get discouraged. We feel overwhelmed, right? Maybe there's fear involved with the circumstances that we're in, and we need to have Jesus come and reassure us, as I mentioned yesterday. But in all of that, all of the drama that's going on around us that is trying to prevent us from moving forward in whatever way we're supposed to move forward, right? What Peter did here is, I think, a genius move that we can learn from for ourselves. That when we're in the midst of difficult situations where we're wondering, Lord, is it you? Because that was his first words, Lord, if it is you, command me. I read that a few years back and I was like, wow. So here he's not even sure it's Jesus, yet he's willing to take that step of faith and find out by according to what Jesus tells him next. Now, think about this. You're in a hard situation, right? Where it seems almost impossible for you to do what you know you're supposed to do, right? To take the next step, to whatever, right? I mean, I've been there. Times when I've looked at what I believe God has called me to do, and I'm like, I can't do this. It's impossible. I don't have what it takes. I don't have the resources. I don't have it. How am I supposed to make this happen? Or how am I supposed to do something that will lead toward this happening? Okay? Because obviously it's something that God, you have to do. I can't do it. But what am I supposed to do now? I don't see any option. Well. What Peter did here is he said to Jesus, if it is you, command me. And all of a sudden I realized, okay, so instead of asking for another confirmation, which is, I think, a lot of what we would, Lord, would you please confirm to me again that you want me to do this? Because it just seems impossible. I can't figure out what to do or where to go. I'm being opposed at every turn. I'm in a box here. I don't know what to do, God, right? Instead of asking for a confirmation, we can ask for a command. What does that mean? Well, okay, Lord, if you really are leading me in this, tell me what to do right now. You tell me what to do. All right. Or if I have a sense of what I could do, Lord, you tell me to go do that, and I'm going to do it. Even if it's impossible, even if it seems like ridiculously impossible. I mean, what Peter, said to Jesus is absurd on its face. If it's you, command me to come walk on the water with you. Now, think about it. He would find out in a heartbeat if it's Jesus or not the moment he puts his feet on that water. Okay. So it's a step of faith. It is absolutely taking a chance. We spell faith RISK. So there's sometimes going to be a risk involved in this process. But Peter was willing to take that risk. And he said, you know what? If it is you, all right, you're saying it's you, Jesus. If it is you, command me to do the impossible and help me to do the impossible. And then I'll know. I'll know. Okay. And I mean, that just kind of blew my mind when I really started to think about it and understand the implications of his request. And so for me, the takeaway was, okay, what do you want me to do next that I couldn't do just on my own unless you empower me? you know? And oftentimes that next thing comes. Call so and so, go here, and or I'm going to bring somebody to you. I mean, there are things that he does. As I'm remaining engaged in the process. Again, remember, the alternative here is to throw up your hands and basically give up and say, I can't do it. It's not going to happen. It's impossible. Right? And here Peter is showing us something different. It's another way to look at it. All right, Lord. So if you have really spoken to me and shown me that this is what you want for my life, and I don't see any path, I don't see any way to do it, then I need you to speak to me now and give me a command. Tell me what to do. And that's what Peter did. And Jesus said, sure, come on out. Now we see that, of course, it didn't work out the way Peter, I guess, wanted it to. He started out well, got out of the boat, started walking, but as we know, the recording here in the Bible is that interesting, he saw the wind. Did he not feel it? I don't know. Maybe that was just the way they recorded things back then, but he saw it. He saw the wind and the waves and the storm and everything that was on around him, and he became frightened. He became frightened. Now, we talk about fear here quite a bit because fear is one of the major things that hinders us. It's one of the major ways that we limit what God can do in our lives. Because when I fear, I am actually seeing something that I believe more than what God says. Jesus said to him, come on. And he started to walk on the water. But in the acting of that, in the doing of that, he all of a sudden took his eyes and his focus off of the fact that Jesus said, come walk, right? And all of a sudden now he was seeing all the negative, all the things that were wrong, which was the wind and the waves and just the sheer craziness of what he was doing. And so in that, we learn how we do the same thing. We stay focused or get refocused on the impossibility instead of recognizing that when God speaks, it's the speaking and the obeying that makes it possible. That anything that God speaks to us that we obey is possible, even if to the human mind, it seems ridiculously impossible. Walking on water? No, you just can't do that. All right. But yet Peter did. Jesus did. And the only reason why they both could walk on the water was because God told them to. Again, in order for Jesus to walk on the water to get out to the boat, he's like, well, how do I do this, Papa? And the father said, start walking. And when he hit the edge of the water, he just kept on walking and walked on top. And when he spoke to Peter and said, come on, Peter started walking on top of the water. So in our lives, right, we have to recognize the potential that these negatives have of robbing us of our faith, limiting what God can do through us. Why? Because we're more focused on our circumstances than we are on what he has said to us. And that is how this ended up for Peter. He started out powerfully. Again, this thing that he got, this idea that he got to ask Jesus to prove himself by commanding him to do something impossible. Again, it's a genius move because for Jesus to say to him, yep, it's me, come on, walk out in the water with me, it would have to be him in order for that to be possible. And again, when God speaks to us and says, here's something that I want you to do, you're asking me for the next step, well, here it is. And if it seems crazy and like, what? Okay, I'm just going to obey. Right? And believe that you're going to do what only you can do as I do my part, which is just to obey, right? So we have to be clear about our responsibility here. Again, remember, the test was not a pass fail from the standpoint of, you know, are you going to do well on this or not? The test is always to reveal where I am. Where am I in my own growth and development? It's for my benefit, right? He's not up there, again, with his scorecard, you know, giving you that those grades on everything. No, it's for my benefit, for your benefit, so that we become aware of our true state, right? Our true level of growth, because he wants the best, he wants the most for us. And so, you know, the assignments that we have are going to be commensurate with where we are. He's not going to give you an assignment that you cannot complete. That would be unfair. So, but it's going to be tailored to where you are in your present walk, condition, situation, right? So the revelation that we all get is always going to be progressive. You'll get something and you'll go, whoa, that's scary. Yeah, it is for where you are right now. Imagine what it would be like if he showed you the whole thing. You'd be on the ground in a fetal position, not doing anything, because it would be so freaky if he showed you the whole thing from the beginning. I mean, I look at that myself. I'm like, yeah, I think if you had shown all of this to me, 20 years ago, yeah, I probably would have just said, I'm going to kind of stay right here in my little room, and just be thankful that I know you. Oh my gosh. So your understanding of purpose and destiny is going to grow. You're going to get greater and greater clarity as you move forward. But in every instance, it's going to require some step of faith, of obedience to what he shows you. And if we allow for those negatives to determine our direction or our response, we're going to be just like the disciples were in that boat, rowing mightily against an opposing wind and basically getting nowhere. Okay. And that's not what he wants. Okay. He gives us authority. We deal with the enemy to the extent that we are able to, based on what we know, based on our level of faith. We're going to deal with the enemy. And where we can't deal with him, where we find ourselves overwhelmed, then we come back to him and say, okay, you need to speak to me right now and tell me what to do. Give me something tangible, something real that I can do right now in obedience to you, because I don't know what else to do right now. You see, the thing that I want you to understand about this walk with God is that we are never left without an option. There will always be an option for us to choose, because he made us with free will, and he's never going to leave us in a spot where we have no ability to choose. So coming to him when we feel like we have no choices, that's so important. And that's what Peter shows us here, that we can ask him for a command. If it's you, if you're in the midst of this with me, tell me what to do. Or here's what I think I should do. Do you agree with that? Would you empower me to do that? Peter he had a specific way of determining if it was Christ. Command me to come walk with you, then I'll know it's really you. Right? I mean, if it had been a ghost, well, he'd have gotten wet, that's for sure. But it was Christ. So maybe you have an idea, okay, Lord, if you're really in this with me, okay, I'm going to call so and so right now and they're going to pick up the phone. I don't know. It could be anything, right? But even if you don't have the anything, he will speak to your heart. He will say to you, okay, do this right now. Okay, here's your next step. Because he's always going to give us something. You'll never ever be left without an option, something to do so that you can do your part. That's the partnership angle of this. We're in partnership with him. and and because of that, he has to give us something that we can do in this partnership. So even though Peter didn't succeed fully in what he wanted to do, Jesus was right there to rescue him, to hold him up and say, I got you, bro. I got you. See, there is no failure from a human perspective in the kingdom. Even if we stumble and fall, even if we, don't do it perfectly, which whoever does things perfectly, right? Just the fact that we did it, that we stepped out, that we made an attempt, that's what is pleasing to him. And he will absolutely rescue us if we reach a point of, okay. That's what we learn from Peter's experience. So please be encouraged in your journey. Again, if I can be of help to you in giving you greater clarity in your particular situation, this is what I do. God has just simply gifted me with the ability to see and hear his wisdom for people so that you'll know where he's trying to take you and what he's up to in your life. And hey, feel free. Every day I put this up, email me, send me a Facebook message. All right. Thank you again to all of you that share this video. I appreciate you so very much. Let's see who else we got here this morning. Man, I really went long on this one, but there's a lot of good stuff here. Let's see. Jane and Ada, good to see you. Bill, John, I don't recognize your name, but welcome in. Joanne and Rosemary, Anne, Candy, good morning. Bernadette, Kali, Jackie, Patrice, I think I got you all. Thank you again. Appreciate you so much. And hey, hope you have a great day. This is an exciting journey that we're on. And let's see what divine appointments he has for us today. Okay. Be back tomorrow, 8:30 Eastern. Talk to you then.